had to have the keys to understand what the church had been trying to hide away from us in this prayer. Basically, if you sit down, if you can get an audio for Luke and Matthew, I think it is, they both have this in it, the Lord's Prayer, and then you listen to what everything leads up to that. But that's the best way you can really get is to listen to the whole thing, not just one chapter at a time, but try and get it to where you can listen to the whole sequence of the thing. That's what's wrong with all the churches and everything. They only read one little deal here, and then next week you got to hear something else. They switch completely around to a different book or whatever. So you never really get everything all put together. And then when you sit down and read it, you're not hearing everything because in most cases you're only reading bits and pieces of it.
And you're right. I've never realized that. They're just giving you stuff all over and no continuity or context. That's
right. That was the whole key. One of the key things behind it is they keep you jumping all over the place. I mean, you sit there and basically in church and you're in the synagogue there with Jesus, and he's throwing everybody out, condemning everybody. The bankers, the money changers, the religious sect, everybody, he's condemning them. And then later on, he calls no man your father. Call no man your father, because your father is your spirit. You may have a dad, but he's not really your father. See, they've gotten people to use the words in the wrong connotation for what they really are. And that's why you have to listen to sometimes to the whole story, because they didn't change everything in those stories. And then when you listen to the continuity of it, the flow of it, then you can start understanding what they've done.
Where does he talk about being no man your father?
It's in the Bible, okay?
Yeah, okay.
It's either in the Gospel or the Epistles. And Jesus said, okay, call no man your father.
I'll look for it.
Because that's one of the ones that hit me when I was 5 years old. Sitting there, and then basically all the priests wanted to be called Father Mackin or Father this or Father that.
Mm.
Yeah. But yet he read right in the damn Gospel or Epistle that said, call no man your father.
Right.
But do people jump up and down and say, wait a minute, stop. It just said here, call no man your father. What the hell are you doing putting father in front of your name? You're not my father.
Yeah, Matthew 23:9.
And then, see, they added in several of the religions, for the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. It doesn't say God or some hocus-pocus person. It says, are yours. That should have told everybody something right there and then, Mike.
They inserted thine a lot of times too, thine, thy or thine. So you wouldn't know for sure how to take it that way.
Well, they have thy up above in the main Our Father, But this add-on phrase, okay, that they came up with, the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours now and forever, and basically in the Catholic Church, it's the priest that says that one, not the people. The people make the upper portion of the prayer, and then they shut up, and then the priest says the last part. And basically what he's telling us is your kingdom, your powers, your glory. But the people are so damn naive that they don't see any of this. And we're supposed to have free will in this country. And that's basically a living will. If you've got free will, it's living. And this was the template that was put out there 2,000 years ago. And then the supporting statement, like call no man your father. There's other supporting statements that were from 2,000 years ago that will substantiate this whole thing. And there are audios for the New Testament out there, too, to where you can listen to the whole book of Mark, Luke, John, whatever. Run right through it. And this was one of the big things here, because all the state, the church, they all have to operate under this will. When we bring our will forward. Because in this country, we do have the right of free will. You don't have the right to go out and harm anybody, but you have the right of free will to choose to contract or not to contract, especially with the dead. So basically, you should be able to write up, and I gave you sort of a template from the 15 pages that I had Tom post up the other day. I would move the holographic will up to attachment number 1 from number 10. Put it first. Then put the will of your 3 fictions next. And then go down through the list of the items you're going to put in there. But I would put the will first. That's what I did when I went to the Vicar General. I put the will, my holographic will first, then the corporate will of the grantor, the beneficiary, quasi-beneficiary, intestate, or whatever, and the trustee. That's the 3 persons in the church scenario. But the trustee and the president of the state corporation are essentially the same. And then if you go in and listen to John, he has it to where there's 5 crosses. He also had at the Sermon on the Mountain, there was 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread. Or 5 loaves. Doesn't say bread. Just said loaves. Well, the 2 fishes are the 2 corporations. Because if you go and think about what was being said in the other terms, when you do a word search for fish in there, basically Peter or one of them had to go and get a fish and take several shekels out of it to pay the taxes. So he got it from the one corporation that owed the taxes. That's the fish. See, a fish is it's an organization, and basically these things were metaphors, okay? A corporation is an organization, something that functions. Well, a fish is something that functions also. And then the loaves were basically the persons, the fictional persons that were in those corporations. So it's all there when you sit down and start deciphering and breaking down the codes of the Bible. That's the codes. That's the true Da Vinci codes that basically people should have been seeing in the movie, but basically they didn't.
Hey, Patrick, this is Steve. I think I got on when you started talking about John had 5 crosses.
Yes.
That was
before. The Sermon on the Mount had 5 loaves and 2 fishes.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the other ones were just referring to the religious crosses on Calvary.
I think you said before it was the mortgagor, mortgagee, and grantor, grantee, and president. But
well, the mortgagee and the mortgagor for the state are the same as the grantee and the grantor.
You're right.
Okay, they're the same. But then you have a church corporation also. And that one has a grantor and a beneficiary, quasi-intestate, or whatever, beneficiary. That's another fiction. And then you have a quasi-trustee sitting there. And they're all dead. That's why we haven't functioned our corporations, because they're dead corporations. And we have to come in with our will and make the prefix interface with the dead fictions. So it's got to be by our will.
Yeah. The only way you can do
this was the will that was supposed to be done when you turned 21.
Right.
Or came of age in your church.
Emancipation.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay? And all the churches out here basically are under the Church of Rome. Think about it. When you go back through history, and a lot of these other churches, the church does not have a problem with these other churches setting up, as long as they pay their tithings to the mother church. Take what's his name down in Oklahoma. Basically, he goes over there and kisses the damn ring of the Church of Rome. the Mormons, the Anglicans, they all pay homage to the one central Church of Rome. And if they don't, that's when the Church of Rome, guys, men in black, that's who they go after.
Mm-hmm.
If you come out of the system, that's all fine and good. But if there are other people out there trying to make a profit on the same thing that the Church of Rome is trying to do, then you've got a big problem. You've got a racketeering organization, and basically now you've got some little peon trying to come in and operate a racket within your racketeering organization. And not pay homage. And the main church will take these other little ones out, like the Jimmy Joneses and several of these others. And basically, if some of these other people are hoarding too much, like Jimmy Baker, they will stage something to take them down and put them in jail. Just the same way they do with rogue bankers and everything else. You just have to sit back and look at what's really going on and see who is the one that's in control. Then you can start seeing what's going on and understanding it.
Well, you called it tithe, and you also said called paying homage. I'll have to look that word.
It doesn't make any difference, Steve. Okay?
Oh, I know.
They're
I just want to look up that
thing,
word.
Okay.
I want to look up that word homage.
Well, look them up.
Yeah, it's
okay.
all. I'm just saying it.
Yeah, it's just that basically they're paying homage or whatever. Tidings is an homage.
Yeah.
Now, does anybody have any questions about doing this process and trying to get it into the chief judge or your district, as he's a prefect, okay, or to the vicar general if you've got a baptismal certificate from one of the 501c3 churches? And then, basically, we've got a third one for a male. The Selective Service Organization. In Moses' time, there was just one, the state. In Jesus' time, there was two, the state and the church. Now, in our time, they've brought in and they've taken away the military payments away from the military people. Prior to that, they would not touch the military's stuff. But under Eisenhower, they went full force and took it all and put it into a special fund account so that they could fund the fraudulent military buildup of weapons and destruction around the world. Now, when you look at things, you can look at it with a different outlook. Does anybody have any problem with the words, the definitions that I put to the words there, like our Father, heaven, hallowed, thy name, kingdom, will, bread, evil, power, glory, are yours? No questions, no comments?
I'm just getting familiar with everything. I don't have any questions. I understand it. I think it's easy to understand, and just get familiar with everything.
Yeah, and basically, this is all you have to do. You've got any traffic tickets, anything. You make out a will because you have the right of free will. So you make out a holographic will and make that your will today. Tomorrow you can change your will because you're still alive. In the dictionaries, they try and talk about wills only being a one-time issue for the dead. No. The living can have a will, too. The dead has one, and basically it's cut in concrete as soon as they die. In some cases, but in most cases, they were intestable or intestate because their will was not a complete or competent will. It wasn't an operative will. It did not cover everything. So that's why you have, and if you listen to Luke, I think it was around chapter 20 or 22, somewhere in there, if you listen with an open mind and your mind's eye gets into the picture, then you would see that you would be able to come in and fulfill the claim on their will that they did not fully complete. Yeah, you've got to bring your living will into place over their dead will by having the proper authority to do that. Like the first son or whatever, or the only living relative or whatever for Grandma Humpty Squat.
So are you saying, Patrick, to settle a bill, we need to take this grantee settlement template that you have and turn it into a holographic will?
Yes, basically that one that I put up there. You handwrite everything on that document.
Right, so it says by my will. So we just, we will follow this template. Okay, great.
It's my Lord's will, okay? Your Lord is your spirit.
Right.
Our Father. Our Father is our spirit, our Lord. He's the one that allowed us to live. If you don't have a spirit, you're not going to live.
Mm-hmm.
Even the ancient Indians and everybody else knew that every living thing has to have a spirit. Someone has to be in the driver's seat. I think that was pretty much predominant in one of the characters in Men in Black 2. The little being sitting in the brain, but he was operating the body of the guy that was out here running around, the alien.
Hmm.
Okay, any other questions? They should have got mine today at the federal court, and I put my other one in for the Vicar General, the updated one, with the will and everything, in the mail today, so I don't know if they'll get that tomorrow or Friday. But you need to get these wills in. Then you come out of their system by your will.
Yeah, basically, I was working on the dissolution package today and getting that all assembled. So I need to add this to it. And right now, I think I pretty much understand what's there. I'll probably have some questions as I dig further into it, but right now it seems pretty straightforward. You've laid it out pretty well.
Yeah. And it was laid out 2,000 years ago pretty damn well. People just didn't see what the hell was done. And then they got the churches and everything else saying that this is just a prayer. And basically, what does it say about prayer? You do not do repetitive prayers. You do it one time and then sit back. Because that prayer is really your will. You don't make 25 wills up for the same damn thing. You don't do repetitive wills for the payment of the same item. That's what that was referring to. You make one will for one item and then go forward. Think about it logically. It slaps you right in the face. Nobody else have a question? Okay, shut her off, Tom. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you, Pat, for working away on this. Thank you.